any of these limitations that you've come across or is a big no-no?
Any of these limitations that okay. So this is the interesting thing, right? So Jason talked earlier about you have to have some self-employment income in order to qualify under the Solo 401k. And the interesting thing is that he put up you're a realtor and you got to be collecting realtor commissions in order to do that. One of the limitations of a Solo 401k is if you're a realtor and you transaction the property, you cannot be the realtor or the broker in that transaction. So that's the crazy thing about it, right? So it's very specific about zero benefits to the owner. Sue was speaking earlier about buying a rental property. You cannot buy a rental property and then pay rent to live in that rental property. That's a big no-no. They're so very strict about this whole any benefit to you in any way, shape, or form. There's very little limitation as to what you can invest in and buy with regards to real estate from a solo 401k. There's some limitations on special coins and some other stuff like that. But within the guise of real estate, there's pretty much no limitation. You just go out there and buy it, let it appreciate, sell it, make money, don't pay taxes on it. Now, there's a little bit of variance with how those taxes are handled between the differences between a solo 401k and a Roth 401k. And I don't know if we want to get into those details, but there's significant tax benefits between the two, tax
And
differences and the benefits
so,
between the two.
let's do that in about three or 4 minutes. First, Chris, you're not a CPA, but I'm going to call you a
Nope,
tax expert. Not a
nope,
tax expert. You
nope,
are a tax expert, but you're not a CPA.
correct,
You chose to get involved with Jason's team for some of your retirement funds.
100%.
Why? What was it that drove you in that direction?
Okay, so one of the cool things about the solo 401k is I get to determine what happens with that money. And most people don't understand this, but you can borrow up to $50,000 a year from your solo 401k to do whatever you want with, as long as you make it legal, document it, and there is an interest rate being paid on that loan. It can be 3%, but that's the thing. So it was a flexibility. It was the ability to allow me to take those funds and purchase a development asset, to purchase a multifamily or a duplex, the way I wanted to do it, the way I wanted to do it. So it gives me the flexibility to invest the way I want to, get the returns, and not pay a penny in taxes on it because my whole goal in life is to not pay taxes legally.
I want to tear into that a little bit more. Jason,
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna let you round out the rest of this slide, just teaching us on what we can't
Yeah,
do.
sure, absolutely. So going back to collectibles, unfortunately, no Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle rookie cards in there, but there's plenty of other ways you can get things done. Life insurance, can't really invest into that. S corps, it's a little unique with that part. Talk to your CPA because S corps you cannot do in a IRA. To my understanding, you might be able to invest into one through a solo, just obviously not your own because you cannot self-benefit from that. Real estate for personal use. One more thing I want to brush up on because Chris really covered it very well. If you do have a real estate agent friend, yes, they can do it. However, they cannot do it as a favor and do it for free. Basically, everything has to be a normal business transaction that goes along the lines of contractors. Yes, you can hire somebody relatively close to you, not your kids, not your parents, spouse, but as long as you're doing it as a normal business transaction where no personal favor, no personal benefit, then that is more than fine. Going back to the last part where it says most but not all coins, it really comes down to purity requirements. So if you are planning on doing that, you just have to make sure that it does fall under certain purity requirements.
I'm going to back up for just a second, and I want to re-hit this personal use. This is the one Chris talked a bit about, and now Jason's talking about it. This is where some people, they do make a mistake. They take their retirement funds and then they put it into a rental property, and then they go in there and they start painting or swinging hammers themselves. And that's where you could cross the line of it not being okay. So be careful on that one. The reason that a lot of people instead, to play it safe, they choose to go to syndications or partnerships is so that they can avoid getting into that personal use category. Anything else you want to hit, Jason, on the limitations?
No, I think that covered it well. If you are planning on owning a property in there, exactly what Nate's saying there. So you just have to be very careful. The keyword I like to use is called sweat equity. So if you feel like you are putting in some work that is going to increase the value of the home, then you probably cannot do it. So that's why a lot of the times these syndication deals do come in handy, because you avoid all the work for it and your investment still gets done. But not saying you can't own a property in there, of course.
Cool. We're going to go through a little bit of just rapid fire, a couple case studies, and then some questions. So those of you that have questions, please get them ready. And I do see one hand is raised. I'm going to get to your hand in just a minute. And then we'll also get you guys a link to get in touch with Jason if you want to go through and explore what his company could do for you on the IRA or 401k frontier. So I had a 401k that I stacked up when I was working in the corporate world. And what happened to me late 2007, and then by really mid 2008, is I watched my 401k get smashed, like almost in half. And I thought that I wasn't allowed to move it. I didn't know that I could just take it out and invest it into whatever I wanted to. I didn't know that anyone is eligible to set one of these accounts up. Literally, there's no, if you're a US citizen, you don't have restrictions from this. Like, you can do this, you can. You have to get with someone like Jason to determine if it's a 401k or an IRA, but either way, you can get a retirement account. I didn't know that. So my 401k got crushed during the last downturn. And it's kind of funny to me because about a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago, I was meeting with my financial planner, and he said, Nate, hey, you're really in a spot in your life right now where you should go all in on the stock market. You should just, put everything in here and go aggressive, because stocks have been up the last year and a half and they're going to keep running. And then I said, well, back in 2007 and 2008, I was all in, and I watched my market value get crushed, almost ripped in half. And he's like, yeah, but it doesn't matter. Even if you get crushed, you just keep it in the market. He kept saying. Now I know him much better. I told him politely, hey, I appreciate your advice, but no, I'm going to keep it diversified, and I'm going to keep some of it in real estate, because anyone can set up an account like this. I took mine out of that company administrated plan and I rolled it over to a self-directed, and I use that to invest into real estate now. So anyone can do this. Sue, I know you talked a little bit about your journey. Could you also help shed some light on financing ability? Or I think that you and Chris might have tossed some questions back and forth, but let's take the mic over to you.
Yeah, if you do, when I bought properties with my solo 401k, I bought them just with the 401k. I did not get financing, but you can get financing. It would have to be a non-recourse loan, and they have higher or stricter rules than getting a regular loan from the bank. Sometimes you have to have 40 to 50% down with the solo 401k, and usually the interest rates are higher. But you can combine a solo 401k with a non-recourse loan to purchase real estate.
And the key thing is it's not backed by your personal credit. So it is truly just from your solo 401k.
And so Sue had mentioned to us a little bit ago that she's now switched to syndications. That's kind of like saying, let's get together as a bunch of partners and buy one piece of real estate. There's a $4 million, we were in one of our $13 million assets this morning. I was meeting with the team there, and that particular one is a partnership between 14 people, 14 or 15, something like that. And we all pooled our money together. Now, we do have a partner in there that used his self-directed IRA to get into it. He didn't have to sign the bank loan. Instead, Chris signed the bank loan in that case. And so there's ways where you can get in and use financing without you ever having to sign the bank loan. Somebody else can do it. One of the other partners can. So know that that's a potential as well. With that said, Chris, I'm going to flip over to you. Can you talk through what types of real estate someone can invest into?
You can invest into most real estate. There's very few limitations in the real estate that you can invest into. Again, you have to be very, very careful about personal benefits, benefiting personally rather, from any kind of investment. And now one of the things that I want to bring up that some people perceive or may perceive as an issue, but it's clearly only because it's thought through. So let's say that one of the reasons that investors buy real estate is for depreciation losses in real estate, right? your solo 401k, it doesn't qualify. It doesn't help. Any of those losses from a business doesn't help. You don't get to get them. You don't get to write them off. And it's funny because when Sue was speaking and she talked about, the interest rates are a little bit higher, normally you would say, oh, you just write it off, but you don't get to when you use your solo 401k to do it. But let's put that in perspective. Any rents collected, any appreciation in the real estate, any of that stuff is completely tax-free anyway. So you don't want to negate that. You only get taxed when you pull it out when it comes to solo 401k. Roth 401k is a different scenario. So no limit or very few limitations on the amount of the type of real estate you can acquire with a solo 401k. I really want to talk about the Roth.
Go for it, Chris.
All right. So one of the differences between a solo 401k and a Roth 401k is how it's taxed, right? So a solo 401k, you're taxed as you pull stuff out. A Roth 401k, you're taxed on the money and then you put it into a Roth 401k. Why is that important? Let's say that we have $200,000 in a solo IRA, 401k, excuse me, I didn't mean to say that, and $200,000 in a Roth 401k. If I take that $200,000 from the Roth, buy a piece of property, and 5 years later, it gets to be $1 million and I sell it, I now have $8,000 in profit. Goes back into that Roth 401k. Since I'm not taxed on any of the distributions coming out of that Roth 401k, I never pay a penny of taxes on that $800,000. Now, if I do it through my solo 401k, same thing, it's pre-tax dollars, right? So the solo 401k gets my pre-tax $200,000. I go out and buy that same piece of real estate. 5 years later, it's now worth $1 million. I liquidate it. I have $800,000 in profit. That $800,000 comes back into my solo 401k, and then I'm taxed on that profit as I take distributions later on in life. So that's one of the key differences between these two. And you really got to, there's limitations on how much you can contribute, which are lower to the Roth and the Roth 401k. But these are one of the things that you need to look at on your long-term tax strategies and how you want to exit. And in my humble opinion, again, I'm not a tax expert. I'm not a CPA. I'm just a guy that's banged his head against the wall a whole lot of times figuring this stuff out. In my opinion, if you're further on in life, it's more effective for you to go for that Roth if you can, because you'll benefit more from the distributions not being taxed on the way out. But I'm sorry, I had to get that out. I was ready to explode.
This is fantastic. Sue, are you going to add something?
Well, I was just wondering if there are other tax implications. I can't talk with the Roth, though, aren't there? The UDFI.
Correct.
Jason, you got a smile on your face. You want to chime in?
So I'd rather leave it to Chris, to be honest, because I'm just not a qualified tax professional. So I'm not allowed to say too much on the tax part as much as I want to. So I'll leave it to Chris to take it away.
Yes, there is some exposure to UDFI, and you got to be careful at that. But again, if you structure things correctly, you can minimize that. But I'm here to tell you that in my opinion, and based on my experience, not my advice, okay, it's more beneficial to ride out the gains, but understand also I'm in real estate where we have predictable returns and we see the appreciation of real estate over the course of time. Again, I'm in commercial real estate too, right? Multifamily. So as we see the rents go up, the values of the property go up, and the liquidation rates are much higher. So it's one of the things that you really need to make a personalized plan with your CPA that fits you perfectly, personally, so that you don't have exposure that you don't have to look into. That you don't expect and that you have to recover from.
These are the kind of conversations that literally save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax, sometimes even more as it compounds over time. But they're hard to answer from a global platform like this. We've got 40, 50 people coming through this right now, plus all the people on replay. And so here's my honest advice is you should book a call.
Yes.
We're going to put up a link in a minute, one for Jason and then one for the Home Invest team. And if you're exploring this, talk to Jason's team about the mechanism of actually doing the rollover, that they're the team, they're the custodian, they're the one that handles your money. And then talk to the Home Invest team about your investment and tax strategy. And we'll give you what we would do, how we would do it, and how we would structure it. Conversations like this can save you hundreds of thousands in tax upfront and maybe even millions over time.
Can I bring this full circle?
Please, yeah.
So one of the reasons that we understand that, I've got a 401k, a solo 401k, that I set up through Jason. But one of the reasons that we investigate this stuff and we present this stuff is so that we can help you secure your financial future. And we're going to be honest, like we want you to invest with us. We're teaching you about this stuff because we want you to come into our syndication deals where you're dealing with moral and upright people that are making these deals happen. But we want you to benefit the best in the world because you'll go out and tell your cousin, your aunt, your friend, your neighbor down the street about the things that we're doing for you. So, I spend personally hours. I know Nate spends personally hours researching this stuff, talking about it. We've got CPAs and attorneys that we talk these ideas through over and over again to come up with good strategies. In addition, I spend a significant amount of time on the phone with educating my client CPAs because a lot of CPAs just don't understand this stuff. And, I get them on the phone, start telling them about this and how they can do it. And they're like, no, you can't do that. And I start showing them the tax code and how they can. They get an education and then that allow you to benefit from the upside in real estate without suffering the downside of the real estate, of the stock exchange, the stock market. So I'd encourage you to take control of your financial future and make that step forward. First by contacting Jason, getting your ducks in a row, and then contacting us about getting into a syndication deal. All right, enough said.
You guys can
Love
tell me
that.
what you have as well. So if you come over here, you have a meeting and you say, hey, I have some traditional, I have some Roth, what do I do with which? I'll help you try, my best to try to figure out some options for you, and we'll lay them out straight and talk to the Home Invest team to see the next steps.
Sweet. We've got some more questions coming through. I want to give a tax resource for folks too, the taxadvisor.com. We're not affiliated with this group at all, but sometimes when we get a CPA that's saying, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. And then Chris jumps on the phone and re-educates them. A lot of times I'll go to this website and I'll get the actual documentation where they take 7,000 pages of IRS tax code and then they simplify it through this website. And I'll share this with the CPAs that are questioning it. And then they'll come back and they'll say, oh yeah, I guess you're right. So the taxadvisor.com is a good free resource for everybody. Chetna, one of our investors, she's asking questions. She says, hi, Chetna, nice to see you. She's saying, I have an SD IRA, self-directed IRA, which is a 401k, and I've become a co-GP with another operator, and I invest in the deal. Do I pay UDFI tax on the co-GP income?
Jason, you gonna jump out there?
So as much as I want to say yes or no, it just goes back to me not being a tax professional. So I'm actually, from my role, I'm actually not really allowed to speak too much on the tax part. So if you want to say something, great. Otherwise, a lot of it does come down to them speaking with the CPA. Some of it is situational, some of it's black and white for them, but not much I can honestly say too much.
And it's a Roth account.
So I'm going to offer an opinion that I want you to verify with your CPA. Yes. Yes, you will.
But as a limited partner,
Correct.
as a
You do.
limited partner, you're not. But if you're a co-GP
Correct. If you're a GP, that means you're responsible. Yes.
and you're
Yes.
making decisions. And I think that's how a lot of these taxes are. It's like if you are the operator.
Correct. And back to that zero benefit to that's why you can't invest in your own S Corp and yada, yada, yada.
We have a lot of investors that come to us and they say their first conversation is, hey, I want to be a GP. And then we say, do you really want to risk yourself in the tax bucket? Do you really want to deal with the tenants, the toilets? And like, nah, I want to be the LP.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to be in the front lines and have subject to potential tax, then LP is a nice spot. That means limited partner. By the way, the tax question that Chetna just asked, that's not 11-year-old. Chetna is like, she's really savvy. She's asking a veteran question. She's been around and she's been on both sides of the aisle for co-GP and GP, LP, et cetera. It's not going to occur for most people in most deals. I want to make sure I answer Jay's question. And then we've got Kay Haldone, your hand is up. And then I've got JW, you're on deck right after that. So Kay Haldone or Jay, if you guys are able to unmute and fire away your question, feel free. Now's your window.
I am able to unmute. Jay here.
Hi,
Hey,
Jay.
Jay.
How are you guys? Nice to
Hi,
see
Jay.
you. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hey, listen, so quick question, and this is just an opinion question. I'm not going to take you to court. But the question that I've got at age 67 is that I was having, and we've got traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs. And so one question I've had to myself, and unfortunately, our accountant is a little worthless in asking these kind of questions. But number one, should I convert my traditional IRA, which is not a ton of money, like 60 grand maybe, into my Roth IRA and take the tax hit? So that's one. And then should I continue at age 67? We can contribute $8,000 a year to our individual Roth IRAs. Should I continue, as long as I'm making money, to contribute to that Roth IRA? I'm kind of guessing that these IRAs are going to be for kind of legacy for our children later. I don't see us really using this, money in necessarily. So that being the case, should I contribute? Especially Chris, what's your opinion? Should I continue contributing to that Roth IRA $8,000 a year in order to use it to kind of build legacy wealth?
Was that to me, Jay? Again, I'm offering opinions. I am not a
Yes.
CPA or a tax expert. So
Opinion.
let's really think about what you're doing, right? So
Yeah.
this is why it's very important to talk to your CPA. You've got to look at your current earnings and your current tax bracket in order to make an educated decision as to what you want to do. Because the Roth are post-tax contributions, right? So does it make sense to put it into the Roth and then grow it from there, and then liquidate it to bring it back into the Roth IRA? What I am unfortunately not an expert on, and maybe Jason can offer an opinion or not, what happens to that Roth IRA once you and your wife pass? I'm not familiar with how that works at all. So that would be a question outside of the scope of my experience. So you could put it in there and then use that money to buy a property, have it grow, sell it, come and bring it back in tax free, and then take those distributions tax free. But I don't, at 67, and I'm not trying to fool anybody, if you get another 25 years, you're doing real good. What happens at that point? And was that really disrespectful? It sound really coarse. I'm sorry if it did. But I deal with facts. So, Jason, what happens to a Roth as far as taxes? Does it get taxed once you pass?
I mean, you already paid the taxes at that point. So typically what you would do, and I'm actually glad you brought this up because there's a few different options you would go with. You would call me, we'd have a meeting to see what your options are really. For a Roth, taxes are typically already paid, as we know.
Yep.
So what would happen is you would have beneficiaries listed underneath your self-directed IRA. This goes likewise for solos. You can have beneficiaries listed. And then for whoever is the beneficiary, whether it's a spouse, kids, you can split it up 33%, whatever you want to do. Whoever the beneficiaries is, it would turn into an inherited IRA where they can continue on as is. You can talk to an attorney or CPA because there are certain rules that they have to follow regarding contributions and distributions with that inherited part. But yes, they can set that up. And now the part with traditional versus Roth IRA, if you do have both, one thing that we would probably talk about is, that traditional IRA, if you are solo eligible, you could do that, maximize solo contributions plus your traditional IRA. And then with the Roth IRA, do you have a lot in there and do you want to put that to work, on the side into something self-directed, or do you want to just leave it as is because it's not a major amount and you want to focus more on the bigger picture? So that's something you would call me about and we'd try to figure out some solutions.
Awesome. Jay, hopefully that answers your question. It looks like it did. You got a nice little thank you in the chat. Jason and Chris, thanks for contributing on that. I'm going to do two things. We're going to keep going on questions. I see we've got about 5 that I'm going to get through right now. We'll go back to yours as well, Jeff. I want to make sure that I give you guys these links for those of you that are looking to get on the line with Jason, that link will be in the chat. If you're following us on social media and you're like, hey, I don't see a link, just type the word Jason in the comments and our team will message it over to you. Put the word Jason, and that's how you can talk to Jason about potentially doing either a 401k setup or an IRA setup, rolling over or starting from scratch. If you're looking to talk to guys like Chris or ladies like Sue or myself about what we can do for you on the Home Invest side and talk a little bit of real estate investment strategy and tax strategy, then you can use the next link that I'm going to put in the chat. Or if you're following us on social media, just type the word Home Invest in the comments, Home Invest in the comments, and then we will private message you over a link and we can book a call with you as well. Okay, I'm going to flip back up to my questions here to make sure that we get them all. And Kay Haldone, you asked earlier, how much does it cost to open an account? Jason, you want to answer that one?
Sure, absolutely. So for a solo 401k, it's the way it normally works is there's a setup fee. It's $995 from day one. That covers your first year. And what that really means is starting year 2, you'll start paying $149, and that's really a compliance fee. There's no transaction fees or anything like that in there. So $995 again, first day. 1 year later after signing up, your first $149. You'll have your checkbook control built into it because a solo 401k, it is built as a trust, and that's where that bank account comes in. You'll open up a bank account underneath that trust. You have your own EIN to work with, and you will have the opportunity to name that trust as well. And there's that checkbook. Mhm.
Yeah. I don't know.
I
if
was
you guys
actually
saw that,
hoping
but
you would waive that. I was like, you know what, maybe I'm gonna ask you to do it.
you might not see this, but Sue is waving a checkbook. That's literally her retirement account. She can write a
Mhm.
check to the investment that she wants to right from that. I was shocked, Jason, at the fees in a good way. When I moved my 401k out of Target Corporation's custodian, I was expecting to hear like financial services fees, a percent here,
Right.
percent there, but it's really just fixed fee. It's really a volume based thing. How many
Exactly.
accounts would you say your team is managing these days?
We have over 20,000 clients between, I mean, just on the IRA side. It's harder. I actually don't know our exact number for solos. We do have a lot. And when I say a lot, I mean, I don't know how many thousands we have, but we do have over 20,000 just on the self-directed IRA side of things.
Cool.
And also on the IRA side, different fee schedule, just so we're clear, there is, it's typically a $110 a quarter custodial fee if you're, again, only for IRAs. And then you would call me, we'd figure out what kind of account you need, because there's like a couple different versions. We'll see if you need a checkbook controlled account for the IRA or do you need a custodial account. We'll figure out your options from that point.
Cool. In my humble experience, again, we don't get paid to endorse what Jason's team is doing. We just like working with them. In my experience, their fees are right in par with the market, maybe even a little bit lighter than some of the other organizations, but they're huge on service. And I like that I can get into mine and see and direct it literally from online, a few clicks of the button. It's actually easier to get into the Madison webpage than it is to my own bank account. So I really like it. Mark asked
That's
the
what we're known
question.
for. Yeah. I was
For
going to say
ease-
really quick. So whether you do a solo or whether you do a self-directed IRA, again, I'm your person to help you start to finish with getting onboarded. You will have a support team, and we don't have any robots here, so you can not worry about that. You'll be able to call, email live people whenever you need to, and that goes again, solo or IRA, either which way.
Beautiful. Mark asked, am I hearing right? Can I invest Roth IRA funds with Home Invest? Sue or Chris, you guys either want to tackle that?
Not only can you, we encourage it.
I was going to be, since it's Mark, I was going to be harder on him and say everyone except for Mark.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. Mark, it was a pleasure to have you drive all the way across the state to come hang out with us during our open house.
It was a good time.
Okay, I'm going back up. Jeff's question earlier, Sue, is this the one you're talking about where Jeff is asking about UDFI? Or did I miss another
Yes.
one? Okay.
No, that was.
UDFI, that we were talking about that term earlier. It stands for unrelated debt financed income. That's the acronym in the long form. Okay.
Actually,
you
his
are not-
question is above there, Nate.
Did I miss it?
2 above.
Cool. You want to just fire away, Sue?
Jeff said if I have multiple IRA or Roth accounts, does the required minimum distributions have to come from each account or just enough money to cover the retired minimum distribution requirements? He's got stock IRA, a house and an IRA, and gold and others.
Great question. So typically for distribution or required minimum distributions, let's just say you have $100,000, whether it's between 4 IRAs or just one. Example, if you got to take out 4% this year, you just turned 73. Well, my support team would reach out to you on the IRA side and say, hey, you got to take out 4%. Do you plan on doing it from this account and can we help you? Or do you have it covered in a different account? Either way is fine. For a solo 401k, it's going to be the same rules. You just have to take it out, but we won't, you'll be kind of working it through with your CPA at that point. If you do have no free cash, like here's a pretty unique thing actually for if you own real estate in there and you don't want to distribute it, or take that back. If you don't want to cash it out for distributions, technically saying you could do what's called an in-kind distribution. And that really means taking the property out, paying the tax bill on it and starting to take percentage equity on the property. You could actually do that if you wanted. That really wouldn't apply in a syndicate deal, of course, because you don't own the property. But if you do own physical property, then yes, you could do that.
So can I ask a clarifying question, Jason?
Mhm.
Let's say you have $100,000 in one account and it's all tied up in real estate, and you have $100,000 cash in your IRA. Can you take all of the required minimum distributions out of one account to meet
Yep.
that minimum? So you
You can.
wouldn't have to liquidate if you had 100,000 in cash in the other account?
Correct. So
Beautiful.
exactly. So some people have their retirement umbrella and they have that, set amount of money on the side that's just maybe not invested, just easy to liquidate because of stock. Yes, you can work with that. So you don't have to touch your self-directed investments if you want to,
Beautiful.
assuming you have it covered, of course.
Thank you.
Cool. We got Benjamin waiting for his question. Benjamin, you want to unmute and fire away? And then we'll do Jim next.
JW too, don't forget him.
Oh, we cannot forget JW. You want to ask, can you read JW's question, Sue?
Yeah, JW has a self-directed IRA. How does he start to convert it to Roth?
So is it, when he says self-directed IRA, is it a traditional account with your everyday stock custodian? Is that what he has?
Now, JW, you want to unmute? Where is JW? Oops.
There we go.
There you
Am I
are.
unmuted?
Yeah.
Hi,
JW.
Hi, hello everybody. My self-directed IRA, I started 13 years ago, a property company, and bought a couple of 4 flats and some 2 flats. And they've built up, and in fact, they're invested in Home Invest. We own a few of their properties, and we're also a couple of lenders to them on a few other properties. But I'm 65, going to be 66. So I got to plan this distribution as it comes forward in the next 7, 8, 9, 10 years, whatever, along with doing 1031s and whatever other things we got to do to keep doing what we're doing. But how do you start the process? And then in that process, do you do a certain percentage over each year? I know my sister was doing this. Unfortunately, she passed away last year, so I never got a chance to talk to her about it.
And so when you're saying start the process, are you referring to starting distributions or you're saying a Roth conversion?
Go.
There you go.
Read to me. The Roth conversions. Now, I'm not looking for distribution. I'm looking for
Got it.
planning conversions of, I'm not quite at Chris's level. I'm down with Sue's level, but I have a decent amount of investments that I don't know what we're doing with it for a legacy with my kids, my grandkids, and God knows what other charities need it, but we'll see.
Got it. And it's with a self-directed IRA custodian. Is that right?
Yeah, in fact, your rates seem pretty reasonable. I paid, I think, $2,500 13 years ago to open it
Wow.
up with Providence, but nobody knew of self-directed IRAs back then.
Yeah.
My accountant sure in hell didn't know what the hell I was talking about.
Yeah, give me
So-
let's book a meeting. We'll work on getting into our rates instead. But yeah, for a Roth conversion, it's pretty simple. What we would do on the Madison IRA side is we would charge $100. That's just a flat rate, and then we will help give you the right forms. You'll file that with your CPA at the end, during that tax year. So you can keep your investments, don't need to be touched. You just tell us, hey, convert my account to Roth, and we would handle it and work with you on that.
Do you figure out strategies of X% per year and those kind of things, or
Great question. So because we're a passive custodian, so we're not going to give advice or strategy really. You'll more just tell us what you want to do. So talk to your CPA, come up with the strategy, and then tell us how to execute it.
Gotcha. So we figure the strategy, you guys execute it. Okay. Thank you.
Exactly. Yep. You got it.
And Jim has a question here. If you have both W-2 income from a former employer and self-employment income that he intends to contribute into a self-directed IRA, can he do both? Put some W-2 income into a regular Roth IRA and use self-employment income into the self-directed IRA?
Absolutely. Yeah. So plenty of people who are self-employed, they have more than just their self-employment. I've had people call me saying they work at one of the big banks or major social media platforms, whatever it may be. And on the side, they have their for fun, real estate business or something down the lines. Yes, just because you have full-time employment doesn't necessarily disqualify you from a solo. It just only having full-time employment doesn't qualify. You would have to have self-employment. So yes, your W-2 income is totally fine. That would affect your contribution limits, I'll say, because the $70,000 a year is a cumulative limit. So you can strategize and say, maybe I'll only take up to what they match at the one place and then do the rest in my solo, or go one and the other. But yes, we can still work with that, no problem.
Cool. Benjamin, I know you had a question, but then you're multitasking. It looks like you had 2 webinars going at the same time. Impressive, my friend. If you're still there and you want to get your question answered, feel free. We can get you unmuted and you can chat. And if I missed one, I think I got Jay's. If I missed anybody else, please let us know and we'll make sure we get yours. Jay asked for Jason, can I convert a Roth IRA and a traditional IRA into a solo 401k? They're
So
both self-directed right now.
Yeah, great question. So traditional IRA, of course, yes, you can move that into a solo 401k. The Roth IRA would have to remain as a Roth IRA. Nonetheless, we can turn it to self-directed. So it would be 2 different accounts from that point. But again, if you have a solo, you can start doing your Roth contributions in there, start building that up. Just depends how much money do you have in that Roth IRA account. Of course, don't disclose it here. We'll discuss later. But if it's a small amount, maybe keep it to work where it is. If it's a big amount and you want to turn it self-directed, put it into real estate or something else, then yes, we can talk about having that as well.
Awesome. If we missed any questions, feel free to ask them now. Now is the last window and we're going to close this thing down. Jason, for folks, I'm going to put your link back in the chat one more time here. If anyone is following us online, you don't see the link. If you're looking to talk to Jason, just type the word Jason in the comments and our team will private message it over to you. If you're looking to talk with Home Invest, someone about investing with us or strategies, then put Home Invest in the chat and we'll send you a link over. Jason, any closing words that you have for folks that are on this mission to maybe convert their retirement account?
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid to call. Even if you think your situation is confusing and you have all these accounts, trust me, I've heard everything and more. I can definitely help out. So let's talk. Let's figure out what your situation is, long-term goals, and I'll match you up to the right account that you probably would, be best with. And we'll figure out the rest from there. And most importantly, how to tie it with Home Invest. So let's do it. Just so you have a fair heads up, I am out of office. I'm going on a nice long European vacation. I will be back March 11th. So you can definitely get to my calendar, book meetings, and I hope by the time I get back, my calendar is loaded with you guys, and I'm happy to help out, of course.
Awesome. Chris, Sue, anything else you want to add?
Just one thing, if you're too shy, you didn't want to put your personal business out in front of everybody else, please, please, please do yourself a favor and book a call with us. It's at www.homeinvest.com/book. Real super simple to remember. Book a call, have a one-on-one conversation. We'll get you going in the right direction, even if that means getting you to Jason first and getting you involved in the process to securing your financial future.
And actually, one more part, we didn't cover timeline, right? So what happens when you apply? How quick does things get done? For a solo, you're looking at just a couple business days, actually. So 3 to 5 business days is normal processing time for us to create your plan trust, that solo 401k binder. If you do pay the setup fee in one piece, we do expedite for free. Then your next step is open up a bank account, which I'm sure you guys have done before, figure a day or two on that, and then you would be all set to start your funding. Self-directed IRA, your account gets set up easily. We work on your funding, getting your investment through. So ultimate goal there is you would have your account set up, open, funded in 2 weeks.
That's
I think
fast, man.
the most difficult is having your old custodian let go of your money.
My wife's doing that right now. She's going through that. Hey, as a parting gift, we promised to give you guys our new book before anybody else gets it, before it's released to the public. This is hot off the press. Paige and the marketing team have worked really hard putting this together, but we put together our complete thoughts, everything we talked about today and more inside this book. You can click the link in the Zoom chat if you're following us on social media and you don't see the link, but you want the new book, type the word new book in the comments and we'll send it over to you. Thank you guys so much. Jason, thanks for taking time before your big trip. Have fun in Europe, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you guys as well. And thanks partners and investors. We appreciate having you on, guys. Bye.
Bye.